Good evening, everybody. Well, 2 videos in one day. Good evening. Well, 2 videos in one day, but I probably will not upload this tonight because I just put up the test lead video and the transistor video a couple hours ago or so. So I don't feel that you want to have 2 videos in one day from the old 64 GOAT. So I think we'll probably upload this tomorrow. And this one isn't really important. Actually, none of my videos are really all that important or even interesting. But, you know, there are some of you out there that do enjoy them. And what little bit of knowledge I do have, which isn't very much, I like to pass it on. I have on the bench in the background here something that I built a good 20 years ago when I had my attic workshop. And I'll give you a closer look at it. It's a high voltage power supply built in a case that was thrown out at work. They used to throw a lot of laboratory equipment out in the dumpster. I once had a professional 2,000 volt power supply, current regulated, extremely dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It weighed about 40 pounds. I had it in my old shop, and I think I sold it shortly before that auction, so-called auction there, where I gave my stuff away. I never really used it all that much, but it was in the dumpster at work, and back then I could get passes for stuff. I told you this before, and I acquired some equipment. Well, this here is I don't know what it was, but it was made in England, and it was some kind of a piece of lab equipment. It came with the, I'll give you a close-up of it in a minute, binding post. It came with the meter and the control and everything. And I think I added a switch and maybe a few other things in it. So let me get you a closer look at this here. Okay, like I say, this was already made up. And basically I just put, I don't recall what kind of piece of equipment it was, but it had the stand on it like that. And what I did is I made a high voltage power supply using, let's see how to open this now, using a transformer out of a bug zapper. So as I recall, I think it's 3,500 volts or something like that. Meter scale volts times 100. Alright. This scribbling here is all my work. Not exactly the not exactly neat when I did things back then, but it was thrown together as an experiment, and I'm going to open it up for you right now. It takes it came with the original, you know, all this is original here at computer type plug. I put 2 extra fuses in here. So let's see, just a normal size screwdriver here. Yeah. Okay, we'll take out the screws in the back. I don't know if I'm on camera or not. I gotta get my glasses on. I can't even see to get the screwdriver in the Phillips slot. got bad eyesight, you can't do nothing. The simplest things are a hard job. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see that. Here's the high voltage transformer from the bug zapper. There's the high voltage rectifier right there, and a capacitor. I don't recall what the voltage is. I have to get my magnifying glass out. Way up in the front is a rheostat. And that rheostat was in here. And as I recall, I got it set up so it varies the input voltage of the transformer. This isn't connected. Oh. Let me see if I can get you a little closer here with the macro. Okay, I don't know how well you can see this, but the bug zapper transformer right there. High voltage rectifier here. I had lots of parts in my shop and I was able to make things up. High voltage disc capacitor here, some 2-watt resistors here, and there's the rheostat. The rheostat came with this. I think that resistor is a series resistor for the line. I'm not sure. It's been so long since I built this. And when I built it, I built it from my head. I didn't have a schematic. I just had the idea of doing it, and I just built it. So, that's basically it. I didn't have the proper color code wires. I had to use brown for the ground. I didn't have a green one, so on that. But we could try it out, I guess. Well, apparently I didn't use these binding posts except for ground. I used I bridged these two over for ground. Whatever was on the red ones was part of the original equipment, whatever it was. I think it was some sort of a low voltage power supply or something like that. The rheostat and a 1.4K, looks like a 10 watt, maybe even a 20 watter. Power on, no, I didn't put that on there. That, I wouldn't be that neat. So that's the original power switch. And the pilot light, judging from the wiring, I would say that's original too. On this is some tape here that got to be redone. This is full of dust and sawdust because this was in the main shed for many years, and you know, there's all kinds of sawdust and everything from sawing wood inside the shed throughout the years. So we can put a computer cord in here. Try it out. Matter of fact, it's got some rust around the connector there, because everything's damp around here. And I don't have a high voltage probe. Now these are the original tags I crossed out with a Sharpie years ago. And I labeled everything, like voltage adjust, which as I recall, I think it's a line adjust. And this is the high voltage out right here. Now, I think this is 40 kV wire right here. I used to have a lot of that when I was playing around with televisions, and I used to have a small amount of 40 kV high voltage wire, which is about this thickness. So let's get you on a tripod here and see if we get anything out of this. That ceramic disc is 1200 picofarads, 7500 volts. Yeah, yellow, purple, yellow, 470,000 ohm resistors. That's one of the few color codes that I can remember. And the high voltage rectifier. The high voltage rectifier came out of the bug whacker. Now, I think these are the current limiting resistors. Which, if I recall, the bug whacker did not have a current limiting resistor. This capacitor might have come out of the bug whacker, that I'm not 100% sure. So let me get you up on a tripod, as I started to say before. First of all, I want to put the screws back into the back here.
I already put the screws into the front. I can find the damn slot on the screwdriver in the screw. Might as well put it back together now, because it's 8 o'clock at night here. I'm not going to be messing around with it now, but I will. Because I don't have a high voltage probe. I almost bought one on eBay. They're pricey. No, I didn't. They were like 30 some. The cheapest I've seen is like 40 bucks. I had two good ones. Pomona, I sold dirt cheap. One was a 30 kV full scale, the other was 42 kV. Alright. Now, let's see. Get you back here so you can see it. I'll get my
computer cord. I better plug it into the fusible. Outlet strip here. It hasn't been out in the rain, but it has been in the shed, and the shed is, everything in the shed is musty. Fortunately, in this shop, it isn't musty, but I run a 250 watt heater, electric heater, all the time in the wintertime, 24/7. Of course, I'm not running it now. I want to, let's see what we got here. That's a bug zapper, so you're going to hear some zapping here. Let me just, all right, let's get you back a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. The power's not plugged in yet. Okay, it's a Mickey Mouse arrangement like everything I do here. I've got a ground wire coming through over to here, okay, on a clip. This is going to the ground binding post. This is the high voltage output. And we better get you down so you can see that without knocking the camera over here. Okay, so we got the ground here. This is the ground wire coming out here. And this is the hot wire, the high voltage coming out and around. And on a screwdriver. and we're just going to go like that. That's all. And we're going to plug this into the high voltage. All right, we got the high voltage up. There's high and low setting. It's on the high. I have no idea. I assume this still works. Yeah, very little. I don't know. Can you see that? I don't even know if I'm in camera. Can't turn this down too much because the camera will fall off this thing. I got to get a decent camera set up in this shop. Now, the meters times 10, so, let's see, 4,000 volts. Okay, as I recall, yeah, that's what the bug zapper puts out, 4,000 volts. But I have a current limiting resistor in there, and, oh yeah, we can climb it right up. It doesn't really raise that much though. Let's get the lights out here. I don't know, can you see that? Okay. That's a good 1/4 inch spark. All right, let's pull that away. Let's stop this a minute. Everything's hot, so we got to be careful. Let's just turn this around. Okay, 4,000, 4,500 volts. Because there's 40 and 60. As I recall, I think I checked this with my high voltage probe when I owned one. When I built this thing, I had all that equipment. And so with the voltage, like I say, this adjusts the voltage, but not all the way down. It's in series with the line, so it doesn't give you it gives you the full 120 volts when this is all the way over. And then there's a high and low. And the low is about almost 3,000. Okay, so nothing special. It's just I had it in the shed, and I just figured I'd show it to you. And I might do some work on this and modify this a little bit. Certainly no laboratory piece of equipment like the nice one I had that weighed 40 pounds. But anyways, this is made from, like I say, a bug zapper transformer, and the case came from a piece of laboratory equipment, which as I recall was made in England, because the resistors that were in here that I took out said England on them, so this was obviously made in England. And all this scribbling here, I have no idea why. I had low current and high current, but I modified it I had it set. I guess I didn't want to use have the high voltage coming out of the binding post because I don't think they could handle it. These are nice heavy binding posts and they definitely can be used on something. So I elected to go through a rubber grommet and a 40 kV wire and using this here. And I just brought it home and it's been in the shed ever since. Like I say, it's been at least 20 years since I put this together. Alright, that's all, nothing exciting. Okay, to continue on with this video here, today in the mail, this is the next day by the way, I got this in from China. It only is $3.18 with the shipping. It took several weeks to come in, and comes with a little case. I'm always trying to look for something to see my work better, but I can't seem to find anything that will be hands-free other than those glasses things, and they just don't work out because they stick out so far. I'm banging into everything and very aggravating. This is like a lighted eye lope, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's quite. Let's see if we can get some. Something on the camera here. I don't know. I really don't know if I'm even in camera view here. But anyways, it's made to look through, but it's very limited in depth of field. And, you know, you have to be very, very close. But it is very good for what it is. But it's not going to do me any good for... What I need is a zoom magnifier that I can wear that does not stick out. I guess there's no such thing. So in other words, if I'm a foot away from my work, which most guys when they're working on things are usually, their head is about a foot away from their work. And with me, I have to get right up on top within 1 or 2 inches. And, you know, everything gets in the way. So what I need is something that's wide angle and lots of magnification and able to zoom in like a camera. I can't work with the microscope camera. I can't seem to get myself coordinated with it. I can't find where I'm at. But I may have to struggle with that and see what I can do. Well, anyways, this is a neat little thing for the price. And when I want to inspect on small things, I think this will do it. Good evening and welcome to the rest of this video. Yeah, so this is like the 4th item within the last couple months that I ordered from eBay. The transistor manual, and then a month before that the 2 manuals. At least 4, if not 5 times. I haven't gotten any feedback from anybody. Because the last few times, I know I've discussed this before, when I leave feedback for a seller, 3/4 of the time I don't get feedback back from them. And I know I discussed this. So my policy now is you leave me feedback because you got my money. And and I will most certainly leave you feedback. There are some that leave feedback very, very well. One of the tube manuals that I got, which I didn't show you other than just pointing up to them on the left-hand side of the shelf there, they left me feedback right away, and in the past, some of the Chinese sellers have, even before I received the item. But it seems like a pattern now, whereas at least 4 or 5 purchases recently, no seller has left me feedback. But I haven't left any to those people either, and my policy is they leave me feedback, I will leave them. Because I've had a couple of occasions where I left them feedback and they wouldn't leave me any. So it's happened to me 2 times in a row in the last 6 months, I guess. And I said, well, the hell with this. From now on, my policy is whatever I buy, if it's a seller that I've never bought from before, I'll leave them feedback, but they got to leave feedback first. And that's only right that they do, because they got my money. They got the money from the PayPal and everything's good. So there's no reason for them not to leave the buyer feedback, positive feedback, which is all they can do anyways. It's not a real big deal, but I have a low feedback count. I'm not a seller. And I think one of my viewers told me I should fix radios up and sell them on eBay. No, I am not a seller on eBay. I never will be a seller on eBay. I'll never sell on Craigslist or anything else. I won't do that. What I do is a hobby, and if I get a radio in, a small one, that needs repair, fine, I'll do that. I heard from Bob. He left me a voicemail. He's been watching my videos, and he's been very busy with house renovations and everything. So I just got a message from him this morning on my cell phone, and usually the cell phone rings when I'm driving or when I'm doing something. This time I was driving, so I wasn't able to get at it. I won't answer a phone when I'm driving. So anyways, I think he's got a radio he wants me to work on for him, and that'll give me a little something to do. I don't have the room to collect any radios. Like when I was living at home in New London, I had a good sized room, and I could have put shelves up and have radios up there, but I never could afford to collect. Anyways, budget-wise, I couldn't. The only radios I could get are junk radios, stuff that nobody wanted. But anyways, I'm guessing I'll probably get a radio, and I had mentioned table wood radios. And the reason I say table wooden radios is they have the larger IF cans in them, and you're less apt to get silver mica disease because those kind have mechanical trimmers on them, and they don't have mica washers in the wafers in the base of the IF can, whereas your typical plastic radios, All-American 5, most of those have the small IF cans similar to the Hallicrafters here. I haven't had any problems with it. It's been working good. I just still haven't got an antenna up because I don't have a lightning arrestor yet. But anyways, so that's why my radio of choice is the older wooden radios with the larger IF cans and usually the octal tubes. Because if I get a radio that has silver mica disease, my eyes won't permit me to work on that. That's extremely, you have to be a watchmaker. You have to have eyes like a watchmaker. There's hair-thin wires. I've seen how some of the guys do it, and I can't deal with that, so I wouldn't be able to repair the radio if there was silver mica disease in the IF cans, because you have to be able to remove them. You just can't stick a 100 picofarad capacitor, which is what the normal value is from what I understand, to replace them with underneath on the terminals. You got to remove the silver mica capacitor from the base of the IF can. So I have to be kind of particular as to what I take in, and it's a hobby. That's all it is. And I can't collect. I don't have room. I don't have room here to even put one. And I don't have room in the house. Absolutely no room in the house whatsoever. And nobody knows that unless they have a mobile home. They're very, very, very limited in space. And I got my Grundig that I bought from Don on my headboard with a 4-foot piece of wire connected on it for an antenna, and it does pretty good. Picks up interference, but I'm able to, if the station's strong enough, I can listen to the 75 and 80 meter bands, which is all I listen to anyhow, on it. And that's all the room I got for any other, I don't have any room for any other radios or anything. Computer desk has stuff on top, stacked up, and, the speaker system and all that kind of stuff up there, that you got no room for anything else up there. So I can't collect radios. So what I do is it's just a hobby. I fix them, and then they got to go out the door. So, but it's a hobby. It's not something that I'm going to be saying, well, I'm looking for stuff to fix. No, if I get one in, it'll be a project, and I'll make a video on it. But other than that, I'm just tinkering around, and that's why I'm called the Blind Tinkerer. So we'll run this thing to its paces, and as I can see, my finger comes in focus at about 3/4 of an inch away from the glass. So this is like a lighted eye lope, which is fine. It's nice to hold on to. It takes 3 AA's, or AAA's, I'm sorry, 3 AAA's. So like I say, I got this off eBay, China, I'd say about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And he didn't leave me feedback, so, no big deal. But that's how I feel about that. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I don't have all that many feedbacks. And, I'm never going to be a seller, so I guess it really doesn't matter, but the more feedback you got, people like to deal with somebody that has a lot of feedback, positive feedback. So, that's it. I'm having problems with my throat today. I constantly clear my throat, and I'm sure you don't want to listen to that, so thank you for watching, and take care, everybody.